And the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. And the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly. And the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And the dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I? That's where you find me, oh, somewhere behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I? Dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby. Oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dream of, dreams really do come true. Ooh, someday you wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to, oh why can't I? Oh, someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I?
Thank you all. You may be seated. My name is Darlene Strickland. I'm one of the ministers here at Unity of the Blue Ridge, and I had the privilege of knowing Andy, working with Andy. And we just want to welcome each and every one of you here today. It's not an easy time to travel. It's not necessarily an easy time to be here, but it means a lot to each of us that you are here. We always like to begin with a prayer, and so I invite you to turn your awareness within. We begin this time together this day from a place within that says, it is well with my soul. There's a dimension of our being that is so vast that it has no fear of tears. It has no fear of silly laughter and rejoicing. It has no fear of fear. There's a dimension of our being that, like a loving parent, can hold all things and yet hold sight of a greater truth. We rest in that place of comfort, of joy, of togetherness today. We lean on each other as we lean on this presence within us. We lean on a life well lived and the memories that that creates. So for this time together, we are truly grateful. We give thanks in the nature of all that is holy. Thank you, God, and so it is. Amen. On behalf of the family, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Those of you that are joining live stream, we want to thank you for joining and for being here today. Family has created just an absolutely beautiful representation to honor a man that I certainly felt blessed to know. I'll never forget when Andy and Lauren, the first time I saw them on a Sunday service, and I would typically after the service be out by the doors, and if people wanted to stop and say hi, I always enjoyed that. And I remember Andy gave me this firm handshake, but just the right amount of firm, just the kind of firm that says I'm paying attention. And he looked me squarely in the eyes and said he enjoyed the service, he loved it, and he said, but I have a question. He said, is this a ministry that equips? And I knew what he meant. He was saying, hey, I'm the kind of guy, I want to be a part of something where we're equipping people to be the best they can. I want to be a part of something that's going to allow me and my family to do what's ours to do and to discover while we're here. And I was so happy and proud to be able to say absolutely, because at that time we had about 12 ministers that were just showing up from all over the place, and he was one. And I had it was such a joy and a privilege to get to know Andy. When I think about him, I think about, many of you have probably heard this from George Carlson that says, this is the true joy in life, to being used for a purpose recognized as a mighty one. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. And the last time I talked to Andy, I could hear the weakness in his voice, that he was growing weary in body, growing to that place of being used up as far as what his was to do in this life. But I could feel a spirit and a joy and a peace just emanating from him that said, hey, this body can't hold this spirit anymore. It's getting time to move on. And so I'm going to do something very unorthodox. Andy's favorite color was orange. He liked to celebrate, and I think it would be very fitting if you would stand up and give him a round of applause. It says, well done. Well done. Well done, Cat Williams. Most of you know Andy was a musician. You were going to have the opportunity. His family, his friends have created a beautiful tapestry of sharing today. Andy was a musician himself, and he loved music. A few years back, our church had the pleasure of having Reckie Byers here, and he heard her sing a song, and it just spoke to his heart. And so we were blessed to have Cat Williams, and I have Sharon here with me. We're going to sing this song that spoke to Andy's spirit.
I come to the garden alone while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. With me, and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. She speaks, and the sound of her voice is so sweet. The birds hush their singing, and the melody that she gave to me when my heart is all weary. She walks with me, and she talks with me, and she tells me I am her own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. Let us walk with God, let us talk with God, let us know that we are God's own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever
Cat Williams, Richard Schulman, Sharon Bigger, thank you for that beautiful song. Reverend Christy Corna is going to share some family remembrances, and then different family members will be sharing.
Good afternoon. As Reverend Darlene said, my name is Reverend Christy Corna, and I just had the honor of being Andy's friend and colleague. He's a man that really touched my heart. I'm so grateful. I wanted to share with you some family remembrances. And first, I would like to share with you from Judith Durrell, Andy's mom. Such immense joy I felt bringing your beautiful new life into the world. And now my mother's heart is breaking. Although my spirit knows the truth, you, my precious son, are home. 1 Corinthians 13:12 tells us, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I only know in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And you, sweet Andy, now know fully the secret and miracle. You are an amazing and joyful light in my life, my heart, truly a gift of love. And to honor you, my beloved son, I vow every day to make a difference, share a smile, to live, laugh, and love. You made an enormous difference in my life, and I learned so much from you. Thank you." Richard Bach wrote, "Our unique curves and sparkles we carry with us lifetime to lifetime. They are our trademarks, stamped deep in what each of us believes. And without knowing, we remember them when we meet again. We shall forever return to the arms of those we love, whether our parting be overnight or over death. I love you deeply, dear Andy. And now, and I know, we will meet again. Mom." And from Andy's brother, Eric. "When life urges me to sit back and take stock, two quotes consistently come to mind. Richard Bach. Rarely do two members of one's true family grow up under the same roof. Andy wasn't much good at being a big brother. I don't think he much cared for the role. Our age differences were inconvenient, but with time, as his younger siblings learned to whine a little bit less, he did become quite a good brother. And having seen Andy's growth as a person over the years, I am happy to see that he has grown his family way beyond the bounds of his childhood home. Many of you have truly blessed his life and become part of Andy's true family. Thank you. The second paraphrase quote is inspired by White Eagle. All creatures eventually come to know true peace, some early in life, some wait till mere moments before their physical death. Andy and his family would come visit us in Wisconsin and allow us to be Aunt Nita and Uncle Eric in person. It's really the only reason we ever bought a camera. Best thing I ever did was his wavering response to my comments on what wonderful and beautiful people Karina and Noel are, and were becoming. The pride, joy, and reverence with which he said this tells me that his girls have brought him great pride and joy throughout his life. And he certainly came to know true peace being cared for by Lauren, Noel, and Karina in his final days. Lauren, thank you, thank you, thank you. Your help in getting me through our goodbye call to Andy. And for Matt Carlson. Andy was my eldest brother, older than me by 10 years. Due to our age difference, I spent my formative years living at home without him as he was off at college. Even though we were separated by distance, I always knew my big brother cared for and was looking out for me. When I was young and still developing my musical taste, he bought me a tape player, a really nice one, and some tapes. It was my first way of playing my own music. One of the tapes he chose for me was Dan Fogelberg. At the time, the only music Andy was listening to was classical, but he took the time to find something that he thought I would really enjoy. Little did he know this kind of gift helped me develop my musical taste. I was very proud of him, his pursuit of higher education, and his status as a premier concert tubist. Andy led us all by example with his service to country and to his ministries. He was a great father, and his daughters are a testament to his loving, caring nature. I have fond memories of spending time with Andy and his family up in Williams Bay when my nieces were younger. Watching him with his daughters was a great lesson in how to be a hands-on parent. When I eventually started my own family, Andy was a proud and encouraging uncle and brother-in-law. We frequently talked about parenting after my son, Declan, was born, and for the most part, we had similar challenges and stories to share about fatherhood. Declan had so much fun with his Uncle Andy during his visits to our house. He especially loved showing Andy his artwork. Andy was always very supportive with every new drawing or sculpture. I will miss my brother, but I know he made this world a better place and positively influenced the people he met. Now I'd like to invite Andy's daughter, Karina.
Everything is harder in a mask. Okay. Hi, everyone here and online. I'm Karina. I'm Andy's eldest daughter, and I am a very proud sister to Noel and to Jack. We are so, so grateful that you are here, whether it be in person or online. And you and I are going to get a little bit interactive together in the vein of being a little bit unorthodox for a very, very special person. So what I'm going to ask of each of you is to close your eyes. Feel both of your feet on the ground and take a deep breath in through your nose. On your exhale, invite softness into your jaw as it melts down your shoulders. On your next inhale, let your breath rise to the crown of your head and hover for a moment. Open mouth exhale, and let your breath trickle down your spine until you feel both feet firmly on the ground. Breathe in, growing a little taller, like a tree toward the sun. Exhale, feel your spine strong like a tree trunk growing into the ground below you. Inhale, feel roots sprout from your feet, further connecting you to the earth below you. Exhale, your roots intertwining with those around you, connecting us all in breath, energy, and intention. Make this your final inhale, feeling your breath travel all the way back up to the top of your head. Pause. As you exhale, place a hand on your heart, maybe one on your belly, and soak in this moment. Feel the presence of love that grows between us, below us, within us, with each in and out breath, the inherent oneness of us all. Gently, and in your own time, let your eyes flutter back open, back to this moment. The oneness that we all felt, that is Papa. Meditation has been a practice that has helped me feel connected, not just to myself, but to the world around me. And it's been something that Papa has tried to get me to adopt for a little bit over a decade. He gifted me a deep, rich purple meditation cushion when I went off to college about 10 years ago, implying that perhaps a meditation practice would be something that would help me through a very transitional, transformative time. I used it to step up on my raised bed. So Papa ultimately took the cushion back. Rightfully so, in that moment of my life, I wasn't ready. But he never pushed or imposed. He led by example. That same year, he invited me to a movie, which was quite rare, given that he is a bookman, and a bookman through and through. What's more, he had seen this movie in theaters 3 times already. He would go on to see it 4 more times in the theater, which just upped the rarity factor quite significantly. And what movie was this, you might ask? It was none other than James Cameron's Avatar, which is a story ultimately about respect and admiration for our connection to nature and each other. As we left the theater, our hands a little bit sticky from the buttered popcorn, walking to the soundtrack of a few leftover Good and Plenty's in the box, he asked me, what really stuck with me most from that movie? And there was a scene where an elder recently passed was laid to rest at the foot of an ancient sacred tree. The community lying flowers at their feet, reverent, joyful, celebratory, filled with deep respect for this transition. The scene clung to me like spaghetti to a wall. I'd always conceptualized death as inherently sad, draped in black. But this ritual was steeped in joy and reverence. Avatar, of all things, opened my eyes to the idea that death is not final, that we are all borrowed, bound, and belonging to each other. It was in one of my early visits to see Papa in the hospital this time around that I couldn't hold back tears, seeing how worn and tired his body was. Even still, his light was steadfast. He looked me in the eyes and told me that there was nothing to be afraid of. That he is not the body that he inhabits, the flesh and blood whose hand I held. That he is the spirit and the light of the world. When Papa transitioned out of his body, he was surrounded by our family. Anointed in essential oils, draped in red and his prayer beads, listening to his favorite music. Kneeled at his feet, holding my sister and my brother's hand. I was brought back to the scene of that elder laid to rest at the tree of life. Honored, respected, celebrated. That's what we're here to do for Papa today. Celebrate a life and a death overflowing with love, patience, grace, forgiveness, and joy. I trust that his teachings and guidance will still find me, because they already have. It may have taken me 10 years, but I've finally adopted the meditation practice that Papa recommended to me so long ago. That purple cushion, now worn and faded, has made its way back to me. And so, Papa, I'll see you every morning on our meditation cushion. I love you. And I love each and every one of you in this room. And so it is. Thank you. And now I invite my sister, Noelle. I have so much snot on my face. For the people tuning in via live stream, you're welcome. You don't have to see that, the snot, that is. Thank you for sharing, Karina. That was awesome. I'll keep mine quick because it's going to be hard to not cry. Hi, sweetie. That's how my dad would start every phone call. Hi, Papa, I would respond. My dad would drive me to ballet class, lacrosse practice, or music lessons as a kid. He taught me how to drive when I was 15 and take me around the block if I needed to clear my head. So much of the time we spent together was the journey getting to our destination. And these intimate moments of time in between, when my dad would reach back behind his seat to hold my hand, impart his wisdom, give me the space to vent, or just sing and be goofy together. I love how you'd know my dad liked a song if he'd joyfully clap his hands to the beat of the music. Typically like that. Tapping on the steering wheel like a drum, or whistling along to the tune. One of our drives, back when my dad still lived in Arlington, Virginia, we were driving home and saw an old man shuffling up to the base of the big hill that it takes to get into our neighborhood. My dad, being the person that he is, drove up to the old man and offered him a ride where he was going. In the car, my dad wasted no time asking the man a million questions. By the time we arrived and the old man got out of the car, he and my dad exchanged goodbyes as if they'd known each other for years. That was the magic of Andy. I know I need not worry about my dad because he's always in my heart. I will carry our memories of fishing at Fletcher's Boathouse on the Potomac, playing catch together in the backyard, our countless road trips near and far, forever. The life he lived on this earth and the life he's given me and Karina is one to cherish and be proud of. He's left an enormous impact on me, and I plan to carry on his love and legacy forever. And to my dad, my papa, know that you are loved with my whole being. Though I wish we had more time, I can't help but feel lucky to have had you love me and guide me on this earth for the time that we did have together.
because it sure was spectacular. I will look at every rainbow, beautiful bird, how the sun rays break through the clouds, and know you are there. I am grateful you're my daughter. That's how my dad would end our phone calls. I'm grateful you're my papa, I'd respond. Thinking of you, loving you, and missing you always until we meet again. Thank you. And now we have beautiful Lauren up next.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm having a little extra support if I don't get through this. So thank you to everybody, both in this room and online. I have felt incredibly supported by our children, Noelle, Karina, and Jack, and our family, and our friends who have fed me and fed all of us incredible food. So thank you. In the words of Andy's mother, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. As I reflect on the 11 years Andy and I shared together, it seems miraculous that our lives were joined together by the happenstance of a friend needing a place to stay overnight in New York City, and Andy offering her a car ride back to Arlington, Virginia the next day. Perhaps it was the alignment of the stars and conspiring of spirit that led to our connection. Upon our first meeting, I asked Andy what his mission was, which might seem like an odd question, though not if you've done a little personal growth work. His answer to me totally took me by surprise. He said, "I am the light of the world. That is my only function. That is why I am here." I had never heard anything so essential and had no idea how he came to this proclamation. A thick blue book was a constant presence on Andy's night table, chair, couch, or car seat in which he had chosen to read, write, or meditate. A Course in Miracles was the book Andy returned to repeatedly. This book, taped together and well-worn, offers 365 lessons. Opening any page of his book, which now sits at my bedside, transports you into the landscape of Andy's life practice. To see the pencil marks of notes, questions, stars, and arrows is to pick up the trail of his mind and heart, moving closer to true forgiveness, love, and God. He placed his trust in Holy Spirit to make every decision and lived his life according to the teachings of Jesus. Andy lived these lessons every day, year after year. He never preached that I should follow him. Only through osmosis, which occurs as two individuals live side by side, driving each other nuts and working through differences, have I come to appreciate this big blue book. Once we settled the little squabbles we were having, Andy would say we were perfect teachers for each other. As I consider my days ahead, I think about our very different approaches to life. He called me Tigger, and that's pretty much all you need to know. Andy was more a mashup of Winnie the Pooh and Owl, with a little bit of Piglet in there too. Andy said yes to life, no matter what challenges arose, and there were many. I remember sharing this idea of living in a camper and traveling when he retired from the Navy. In typical Andy style, he embraced the idea just as I questioned the practicality of such an endeavor. Fear was not something that got in Andy's way. We had the time of our lives traveling the back roads of America for a year. Could you live here? We asked everywhere we went, and Andy's response was always yes. During the pandemic, Andy took up baking bread and bagels. Some of you were the lucky recipients of those experiments. Since his stroke in 2017 impacted his dominant side, he'd occasionally become frustrated while kneading a ball of dough. I'd find bits of sticky dough on the floor that he'd thrown in a fit of frustration. Sorry. These were moments I learned to say nothing and wait for him to share what happened. Inevitably, he'd return to the joyful, centered man he was. He frequently expressed that everything was an opportunity for forgiveness. Andy blessed us through his commitment to living the powerful truth of this forgiveness practice. I am fortunate to have learned what I could from him ever so slowly. In the spirit of the saying, "What would Jesus do?" I offer you my version. What would Andy do? And you'll all find a little bookmark to follow along, so if you haven't already. So, what would Andy do? Invite. Andy invited play in the form of a silly dance around the kitchen. He knew joy as having a home that offered comfort to everyone. Acknowledge. The first thing Andy did when he met you was ask your name. The checkout person at Walmart, baristas at Zuma, every person who cared for him at the VA. He was remarkable in this habit. He thought everyone was his brother and sister. Listen. Andy was one of the great listeners in this crazy-making world. He spoke slowly and deliberately. I can still hear him saying, "If you just let me finish." So it's a lesson I will continue to practice. Turn off the inner tape and be present for the person sharing. And don't take it personally. It's not about you. Embrace. Offer hugs freely. I can picture Andy in the lobby here at Unity of the Blue Ridge and at Unity DC, arms open wide for everyone. Accept. He would say to me, every situation was an opportunity to choose how we will regard what is before us and our belief in who we are. Allow. There was a spaciousness to Andy. He took his time making decisions. You couldn't rush him if you tried. And honestly, this was maddening at times. However, I've come to appreciate the wisdom of allowing life to unfold rather than grasp or force any situation. Wonder. Now this is just a wondering. He'd usually say to me to short circuit my knee-jerk reactions. He is my role model to stay curious and consider alternative possibilities. Be grateful. Say thank you for everything, even the things we wish would never occur. It was rare that you heard Andy voice a complaint. He taught me that every situation was an opportunity to learn and forgive. Love. I'm not talking about the special someone kind of love. The love Andy aspired to shines like the sun equally on everyone, no matter their circumstances or beliefs. And forgive. Andy demonstrated true forgiveness, which is not about apologies right or wrong, nor blaming and shaming. True forgiveness recognizes that we are all blameless, whole, and perfect. Every judgment we have is an opportunity to forgive. It releases oneself from suffering and brings about peace and joy. I cannot say where we'd be if Andy's stroke hadn't occurred, nor whether we'd have met if he'd not had an aortic dissection in 2010. We deepened our appreciation for each other through those challenges. We shared sweet, tender moments as we navigated through years of cancer treatments. My heart overflows with love as I learn to let go and trust I can hold joy and sorrow simultaneously. This is the grace and joy that carries me forward. I thank you, my dearest Andy, my captain, my lover, my friend, teacher, and husband. I leave you with Andy's final words on the matter of his earthly presence. I relinquish the thoughts of this world in order to remember who I am, who we all are, the divine expression of the one power, one presence. I am at peace. I am the light of the world. Thank you, and may we all know peace.
Hey everybody, my name is Patton Cardwell, and Andy was a dear friend of mine, is a dear friend of mine, and he taught me so many things. His hugs were legendary, and his music was as well, and we would get together, and he would encourage me to just play, and sometimes we would talk, sometimes we would sing, but mostly he would just listen, and I would noodle. And so I had a song that came to me. I got to spend the week before he passed. I got to spend time with him in the hospital and play again for him, and it was always a joy. And this song that I'm going to share with you just kind of came to me the morning that he passed, and so I wanted to share with you. And it feels to me of a song that is speaking to us as individuals, us as family, and of course him sharing his gift of just joy in all stages, including this one. So let's give it a go. That's the other thing I loved about Andy. He was just like, hey, relax. Just 12 notes. And if you mess them up, it's okay. It's okay, because they're just 12. And they repeat. Over and over and over again. The other thing that Andy taught me was to always tune your tuba. So bear with me 1 second. You can think about how do you tune a tuba while I do this. Believe it's all in the mouthpiece. I have crossed the river to myself, I have crossed the river to my home. I have crossed the river to myself. I've come home. I will walk with you to the pond. I will walk with you by the river. I will walk with you in the darkness. We're going home. I'm going home. I will love you always. I will walk with you. I will hold, I will listen, I will speak to you. I will love, I will walk, I will listen to you. I'm in the breeze rustling the leaves. I'm in the breeze rustling the leaves. You are my friend, I love your smile. You are my friend, I can feel it shine. You are my friend, I feel your smile. You made it home. You made it home. We are still home.
That was beautiful, Pat. Thank you. And now we want to hear from some of Andy's friends. And first up is Chris Maggio.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Andy was my brother of choice. We met back in 2004, 2005. We connected really at our men's group on Monday night. He lived just a couple blocks away. We became good friends. Played cards, fished, biked, and hung out. We had some great conversations. He's a great listener. I do recall vividly whenever he got a call from either Noel or Karina, all bets were off, whether we were playing cards, talking, it was done. So I got to the point where once they called, and I'd just say, Daddy, Daddy, and that was it. It was gone. It was beautiful. I enjoyed attending his concerts, whether the holiday concerts, at the beach, several others. His favorite was on the steps of the Capitol, overlooking the mall. I remember him playing at Kenmore Middle School at a tuba symposium. He practiced for months before, and he did a great job with that solo. And I always made a point of it when I go to see him to try to catch his eye. He was so serious up there. I would, whether he was getting ready or if I was lucky performing, I would catch his eye and he would smile and nod his head. We had a special connection there. Andy attended the Mankind Project in 2010. I always admired his thirst to grow spiritually, mentally, physically, and that was a big part of our growth together. I later did it myself on his insistence over the years, and those guys, and they continue to be a big part of my life. And I remember Liza, my wife, and I visiting Lauren and Andy around New Year's for the last few years, and when they moved to Marshall. And remember one particular time when Hanukkah was on New Year's Eve, and we had a beautiful, memorable evening when everybody brought their menorah into Zuma Cafe in downtown Marshall, and just a lovely evening, lovely stay. So I said, Andy's like a brother to me. I like to tease him a little bit. And I got to calling him a troubadour. I thought that was a great name for him after his entire career. And he wasn't so fond of that, which only made it that much more etched in stone. So I had a good time with that. My troubadour brother, he loved breakfast. That was his thing. When he lived down here and came back up to Arlington where I live, and we'd have meet for breakfast. And the one time he did, after I met him there, he always gets there before me. And I remember getting in this little Bob Nita's Cafe, this tiny little thing, little diner, and I looked for him, and I looked around, and I could not find him. And he was looking right at me. He had grown a beard and had grown out his hair and had a hat on. For the life of me, I could not. It was a remarkable change from the time I saw him before. He did like to ruminate. We played Rummy Cube, and he would like to win at that game. and he would strategize for minutes on moves. I would literally doze off more than one occasion in his effort to win and make that perfect move. And he would insist that you were not allowed to move the tiles or cards on the table unless you made a move, which I would move everything around, and he would get infuriated when I wouldn't move it back to where it was, or who knows. It was a good needling. He, at some point earlier in our relationship, he used to either get off the phone or leave and say, "I love you," and I was never used to that. He taught me how to love. I'm still learning that. And I really appreciate that. You know, I love you. And when he first said it, I took a double take, and he showed me. He showed me. My gratitude of having been blessed with our friendship really far outweigh the grief that I'm feeling and will feel. I love that man, and always will. Have a special place in my heart for my troubadour friend. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Hello Andy. Lauren asked me to speak today to represent two communities you were part of. Your Unity DC Church, where you still spoke regularly, and One Spirit Seminary School, where you were ordained as an interfaith minister and later trained as a spiritual counselor. As many others here, I had the great privilege of witnessing your transformation. When we first met, you seemed restless. You were tired of your day job, your soul was hungry, you knew something more was possible and available. We sat in the same prayer circle and recognized this shared yearning in one another. So when I signed up impulsively for this 2-year seminary program, I jokingly suggested you join me. To my amazement, a week later, you announced that you would. And so we drove to New York and back together every month for 2 years. We became one another's companion into what was for us both completely new territory. A journey that felt right, but not always comfortable, and required quite a bit of mutual debriefing. One of my favorite writers, a Swiss author named Nicolas Bouvier, speaks beautifully about travel. How you think you're making a trip, but soon it is making you, or unmaking you. For all of us in what we still call the class of big love, these were life-changing 2 years. I can't remember how that name came about, but I suspect you had something to do with it. Possibly more than anyone, you threw yourself into the experience with your whole heart. You welcomed every challenge. You opened yourself up to the point of nearly dying of a heart attack if it hadn't been for the insight of a kind stranger. There was another medical explanation for it, but that is my interpretation. 12 years later, we are still a close-knit group, and you had a strong role and presence in it. Many of our classmates are here today, and they feel your loss very deeply. When I was mourning you in the last few weeks, I remembered how courageous it was at the time for you to say yes. And it made me realize that having said yes to my spur-of-the-moment invitation, you then became a living, walking invitation to all those that knew you. An invitation to be brave, to step into our spiritual calling. An invitation to embody love. Of all the people I know, Andy, you are the one that came the closest to achieving it, especially, it seems, as you faced illness and death. Yet it had taken you a long road trip with stops at pretty awful fast food joints on the way, I must say, to get there. The journey had neither been an obvious nor an easy one for you. You carried, as we all do, baggage at the start, grief, shame, insecurities that you had to work through. And that is what also made you so able to hear and make others feel heard in their own challenges and struggles. As I was reminded of this, the poem called The Invitation came to my mind. I'd read it more than 20 years ago, so it was as if you had whispered it to me. And when I go back to it, it seemed to be capturing exactly who you were and who you will remain for us. An invitation to step out of our comfort zone, an invitation to courageous love. So here it is. The Invitation by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. It doesn't interest me what you do for a living. I want to know what you ache for, and if you dare to dream of meeting your heart's longing. It doesn't interest me how old you are. I want to know if you will risk looking like a fool for love, for your dream, for the adventure of being alive. It doesn't interest me what planets are squaring your moon. I want to know if you have touched the center of your own sorrow, if you have been opened by life's betrayal or have become shriveled and closed from fear of further pain. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. I want to know if you can be with joy, mine or your own, if you can dance with wildness and let the ecstasy fill you to the tips of your fingers and toes, without cautioning us to be careful, to be realistic, to remember the limitations of being human. It doesn't interest me if the story you're telling me is true. I want to know if you can disappoint another to be true to yourself, if you can bear the accusation of betrayal and not betray your own soul, if you can be faithless and therefore trustworthy. I want to know if you can see beauty even when it is not pretty every day, and if you can source your own life from its presence. I want to know if you can live with failure, yours and mine, and still stand at the edge of the lake and shout to the silver of the full moon, yes. It doesn't interest me to know where you live or how much money you have. I want to know if you can get up after the night of grief and despair, weary and bruised to the bone, and do what needs to be done to feed the children. It doesn't interest me who you know and how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. It doesn't interest me where or what or with whom you have studied. I want to know what sustains you from the inside when all else falls away. I want to know if you can be alone with yourself and if you truly like the company you keep in the empty moments. To me, this is how you lived and ministered. This is who you invite us to be. So long, Andy. Thank you for the ride, and see you soon.
And that was Indy's friend and colleague, Reverend Carol Frampton, who is in Europe. And now I'd like to invite another friend and colleague, Reverend Kat Oakes.
I think I'm having a hot flash. Oh, my. So I met Andy several years ago here at Unity. I was one of the ministers. There was a group of us. Can you all hear me? Oh, sorry. And Andy and I just really resonated with each other. And the more I talked about my personal journey, about I just was done with the BS. I wanted to go deeper. I wanted to know God. And Andy was like, yeah, I'm there with you. You know, take me on this journey. And we took each other on this journey. And he became this brother of diving deeper, which means pissing each other off. Because you have to show, be a reflection and know a deeper truth and become raw and honest. And Andy
he was the most beautiful example of that. What an honor it is to have a father like Andy. Every time we would meet, my heart would just be touched on a deeper level. And he taught me so much, and he taught me how to listen, because Lauren, it's true, he takes a long time to answer, So it really pushes you to just shuddy. And I didn't want to shuddy. I wanted to, so it was a really beautiful lesson. And another thing that Andy and I shared was the Course in Miracles. I've been involved in Course in Miracles for over 30 years, and to meet another person that was so in love with the words of Christ's consciousness as I was, it was heaven. And I just want to read one little paragraph out of chapter 26 or 25. The title is The Special Function is the name of the chapter. Maybe I should put some bifocals on. Oh, there we go. The grace of God. You can feel him. The grace of God rests gently on forgiving eyes, and everything they look on speaks to him, God the beholder. He can see no evil, nothing in the world to fear, no one who is different from himself. And as he loves them, so he looks upon himself with love and gentleness. He would no more condemn himself for his mistakes than he would damn another. And Andy really walked that. He really lived that truth. So I am so incredibly, words can't even describe how honored and just how honored I was to know Andy. So, thank you.
Thank you, Kat. I wanted to share one more message from another friend, Jan Smoot. Andy has been a good pal for many years now. I know a lot of you can relate to counting him among your friend group, so nothing I say will be new to you. But I hope brings a smile as I share just what a lovely guy Andy was. We had an easy way between us. He often stayed in my home in Arlington when he and Lauren would visit Washington over the past many years. We enjoyed just hanging out, being quiet together, sharing a meal or a movie, chatting about a reading or a new revelation. He grew to become a good listener. You could tell he was paying attention and wanted to hear what you had to say. I think I appreciated that most about him. I felt heard. I was holding Andy in my thoughts as we read from A Course in Miracles this past Wednesday evening at our study group. I can hear him reading it to us now from chapter 25. The Justice of God, section 4, the light you bring. In the sunlight you will stand in quiet, in innocence and wholly unafraid. And from you will the rest you found extend, so that your peace can never fall away and leave you homeless. Those who offer peace to everyone have found a home in heaven the world cannot destroy.
for it is large enough to hold the world within its peace. In you is all of heaven. Every leaf that falls is given life in you. Each bird that ever sang will sing again in you. What aim can supersede the will of God and of his Son, that heaven be restored to him, for whom it was created as his only home? Nothing before and nothing after it, no other place, no other state nor time, nothing beyond nor nearer, nothing else in any form. This can you bring to all the world, and all the thoughts that entered it and were mistaken for a little while. How better could your own mistakes be brought to truth than by your willingness to bring the light of heaven with you as you walk beyond the world of darkness into light. Andy had the courage to bring the light of heaven with him and shared it with us. I will miss my friend now. I carry his sweet smile in my memory. I know I will look for him when it is my time and rejoice when I see him again.
There was a song that Andy and his family loved, titled So Much Magnificence. And so we want you just to take this opportunity, perhaps close your eyes, and just feel what can be felt when you really tune in to this song.
So much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in, waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in,
Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. Waves are coming in. There is so much magnificence near the ocean. Waves are coming in. The waves are coming in.
So to our brother, father, friend, perhaps the best description, the troubadour. Andy, I'm sure secretly hated, loved that. Reverend Christy, I'm going to ask you to make some final remarks, but I want to do something just a little, again, unorthodox. I'm going to ask you to stand a moment. As Lauren said, Andy always wanted to know somebody's name, and we're in COVID times, we're in masks, we're not going to ask you to talk, but it just wouldn't seem right if we didn't take this opportunity to connect. There's something called namaste that says, I can see the essence truly of who you are. Just take this opportunity to connect with one another. With the shared grief, the shared joy, the shared love, the shared longing. And if you look back toward the cameras, we want to connect with those that you may not be here physically, but you're here very much in spirit. And we want to thank you for making that connection. So we invite you to be seated as Reverend Christy shares a closing prayer with us.
Oh my goodness, was that the most beautiful song you've ever heard, or what? I just loved Andy so much. There was just something about this guy that when you met him, he would just instantly connect with you. And it was a spiritual thing. It was a heart wide open thing. It was complete spiritually vulnerable kind of thing. And that kind of tenderness and that kind of openness that he demonstrated to complete strangers, to me, I will be eternally grateful for, because he taught me that I can open, and I can trust, and I can forgive. And I often referred to him as my brother from another mother. And I would be his sister from another mister. And when I had the opportunity to speak with Andy a few weeks before he passed, and there's just such a peacefulness about our conversation, about how present he was to his life, all of it, the wholeness of his life. And that was magnificent. I wanted to share with you, it's one of my favorite readings. And I just see his energy is just expanded and lifted and blended and merging and forever remaining with each of us. And this is called the Ascension Poem. And if I go while you're still here, know that I live on, vibrating to a different measure, behind a thin veil you cannot see through. You will not see me, so you must have faith. I wait for the time when we can soar together again, both aware of each other. Until then, live your life to its fullest. And when you need me, just whisper my name in your heart. I will be there. And so we've come here today to celebrate Andy. Husband, father, son, brother, colleague, friend. The ways that he has touched our lives, the lives of everyone he ever met. For the love of his ministry, for the light of his being, and the many gifts that he shared. There's a legacy in our beloved Andy, Reverend Andy. Each of us gets to carry out this legacy. So whether it's by a smile that we give to a stranger, whether it's choosing forgiveness over fear or criticism, whether it's by extending a generous act, whether it's by loving openly and fully, whether it's through creativity in however we choose to express that through each of us, because he would always acknowledge our own gifts, that each of us was unique and precious and beautiful and on purpose. And always through love, we get to shine Andy's light. We get to expand the very Christ essence of who we are. That I am presence that Andy so steadfastly and faithfully lived by. That awareness that gives us faith, that gives us strength. And so, Andy, we give thanks for your part in our merging journeys. Grateful for our time together. Looking for that day that we soar together again. Knowing that you have made such a positive, beneficial effect in this world. Your beauty is beyond measure. Your love, eternal. The essence of the light that you are forever lives in this place, in this holy instant. And so we call on that peace and that light, and in deep, profound gratitude for that indwelling peace that is spirit. May we each be comforted. May the family be lifted and loved through these tender moments. May the peace of spirit forever dwell within us and all around us. May we live the beautiful essence of our beloved Andy. Thank you, Spirit, for sharing him with us. Thank you, Andy, for living full out and loving freely and fully and honestly, genuinely, authentically. You're a beautiful man, beautiful spirit, and we are forever grateful. We know you are home in the I am. Thank you. Amen. Thank you, everybody. We will invite the family to go out, and Richard will play. And are you going to be doing snacks on the back? Yeah, we've got a table set up out on the back patio, so you're welcome to go out and share, break a little bread with the family and greet the family. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Reverend Darlene, and beautiful singers, and Richard, and beautiful celebration. Thank you.